Have you ever had that feeling, like when you're in an online group, maybe for school or just hanging out, and it's all through screens and text,
Yeah.
but you still get the sense that the people are like really there. It's more than just words on a screen. You feel a connection.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of presence, like even though it's virtual, you're still somehow together.
Exactly. And it turns out there's actually a whole area of research dedicated to this feeling. It's called social presence.
That's right. And it's not just some random feeling. Researchers, especially in online learning, have been digging deep into what it means and why it matters.
Which is exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be taking a deep dive into social presence. I found this super interesting research article from Educational Psychology Review.
You know I love a good deep dive.
It's called Social Presence, Conceptualization, and Measurement. And the thing is, understanding this isn't just for like academics or researchers.
Oh, definitely not. This has implications for anyone who spends time interacting online, which, let's be real, is pretty much all of us these days.
Exactly. Whether you're working on a project with a team, taking a class, or even just connecting with friends, understanding what makes online interactions feel more real can be so valuable.
Totally agree. It can make a huge difference in how we communicate, learn, and build relationships online.
So for our deep dive today, I'm hoping we can really unpack what social presence is at its core.
Yeah, and I think it would be interesting to explore why it's considered so important in online group learning, or what researchers call OGL.
Right. Why is this such a big deal for learning?
And then, of course, we need to tackle how researchers have tried to measure this thing. Because, as we know, measuring something that's kind of intangible can be tricky.
Definitely. It's like, how do you put a number on something that's essentially a feeling or perception?
Okay.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The article starts by laying out why social presence is considered so crucial, especially in OGL.
Right, right. Educational researchers see it as kind of a foundation.
A foundation for what?
It influences how people interact in online learning environments. And then those interactions, the quality of those interactions, ends up impacting what and how people learn.
Which makes total sense, right? Like if you're in an online group and people feel comfortable sharing their ideas,
Uh-huh.
asking questions, really engaging with each other, then the learning experience is going to be so much richer.
Oh, for sure. And on the flip side, if people are hesitant to participate or they don't feel connected to the group, it can really hinder the learning process.
Totally. So the article actually provides a clear definition of what they mean by group learning in this context.
Oh, that's helpful. What is it?
So it says group learning is instructional use of small groups so that students work together to maximize their own and each other's learning.
Okay, so the emphasis is on collaboration. Students are working together, not just individually.
Exactly. And the ultimate goal, is to encourage what they call knowledge construction. So it's not just about absorbing information passively. It's about actively building understanding through discussion, debate, and sharing different perspectives.
That's fascinating. And I think that aligns with a lot of research on collaborative learning in general. It shows that when people work together, they tend to engage in higher level thinking.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're more likely to question assumptions, analyze information critically, and come up with new ideas.
So it's not just about learning more content. It's about developing those critical thinking skills.
Right, and the article actually brings up this meta-study by Johnson & Johnson from 2014. It looked at a ton of research on face-to-face learning, and the findings were pretty compelling.
Okay, tell me about it.
Well, they found that working together towards shared goals, that's a key part, led to those higher levels of thinking we were just talking about. But they also found that it leads to more innovative problem solving, and get this, it even helps individuals perform better on their own later on. So it's like the benefits of collaboration extend beyond the group setting itself.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and it highlights why researchers are so focused on trying to replicate those same benefits in online environments.
Okay, so that makes sense. But how exactly does social presence fit into all of this?
Well, if you think about it, there's this inherent gap between the richness of face-to-face interactions and the more mediated experiences we have online.
Right, right. In person, you have all those nonverbal cues.
Exactly. Facial expressions, body language, tone of voice, all those things that contribute to that feeling of being truly present with someone.
And online, you often lose a lot of that.
Yeah, you do. So the idea behind social presence is that if we can cultivate that feeling of realness in online interactions, even if it's through a screen, then we might be able to bridge that gap and recreate some of those benefits of face-to-face collaboration.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So it's like social presence is the key ingredient that can unlock those higher levels of thinking, the creative problem solving, all those good things.
Exactly. And the article even includes quotes from two researchers, Poth and Mykota, that really emphasize this point.
I'd love to hear them.
So Poth, writing in 2018, says that developing social presence is key to promoting a more engaging and supportive educational experience. And Mykota, from 2017, calls it a critical affective component that significantly impacts how effective interaction and learning will be in online spaces.
So basically, if you want people to really learn and connect online, you need to foster that sense of social presence. It's not just about the technology, it's about the human connection that happens through the technology.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Despite all this, there's actually a bit of a problem when it comes to social presence research.
Oh, a problem.
Yeah, there's this big lack of agreement on what it actually is and how to measure it.
Really? But it seems like such a straightforward concept. You're either present or you're not, right?
You'd think so, but it's a lot more complicated than that. The article points out that there's a whole plethora of different definitions and incompatible measures being used in the research.
So what does that mean in plain English?
Well, it means that when different researchers are talking about social presence, they might actually be talking about slightly different things. Some might be focused on the technology itself.
Okay,
Others might be looking at the overall group vibe.
got it.
And still, others might be focused on that individual feeling of realness. So it's like everyone's using the same word, but they might be pointing at different aspects of the experience.
That sounds like a recipe for a lot of confusion.
Oh, it definitely is. And the article argues that this lack of clarity really hinders the research.
How so?
Well, if everyone's using different definitions and measuring things differently, it becomes incredibly difficult to compare findings from different studies.
Right, like you're not really comparing apples to apples.
Exactly. And that makes it really hard to build a coherent understanding of what actually influences social presence and what its real impact is on learning.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where everyone's using pieces from different puzzles.
Right. The article even gives a really interesting example of this. There was this study by Giesbers and colleagues in 2014 that found, get this,
I'm intrigued. What did they find?
they found no significant difference in reported social presence between groups that were communicating through just text and those using video conferencing.
Oh, wow. That's surprising. I mean, you would think video would lead to a stronger sense of presence, right?
You would assume that, wouldn't you? But that's exactly the kind of unexpected result you can get when the definition and measurement of social presence are all over the place.
So basically, we need to get everyone on the same page. We need a shared understanding of what this thing is before we can really make progress in understanding how it works.
Totally. And that's actually what the authors of this review article try to do. They go back to the very beginning, to the roots of social presence theory.
I love that. Back to basics. So where did this idea even come from?
So it all started with these three communication researchers, Short, Williams, and Christie, back in 1976. They were the ones who first coined the term social presence.
1976. Wow, that's a while ago. So what was their big idea? What did they mean by social presence?
Well, their core idea was that social presence is all about the realness of the other person in the interaction.
Okay, so it's about how much you feel like you're interacting with an actual human being, even if it's through a technological medium.
Yeah, exactly. And they theorized that different communication technologies have different capacities to convey those cues that make people feel real.
Like those nonverbal cues we talked about earlier.
Yeah, things like facial expressions, tone of voice, body language, all those things that contribute to that sense of being truly present with someone. So their thinking was that the more of those cues a technology can transmit, the higher the social presence it would create.
That makes intuitive sense. But the article also points out that their original definition wasn't without its problems.
Right. So while their core intuition about realness was insightful, their actual definition, which was the degree of salience of the other person in the interaction and the consequent salience of the interpersonal relationships, was a bit vague, you know.
Vague how?
Well, salience could mean different things to different people.
It's a bit of a jargony word.
It is, and it's not very precise. Plus, the way they tried to measure social presence was also questionable.
Oh, how so?
They used these bipolar scales,
Like what?
like, unsocial, sociable, insensitive, sensitive, cold, warm, impersonal, personal. And they asked people to rate different communication media using these scales.
So they weren't actually directly asking people about how real they felt the other person was. They were asking about their general feelings towards the technology itself.
Yeah. And the article argues that this approach lacked what's called construct validation, which basically means there wasn't enough evidence to show that those scales were really measuring the core concept of realness.
So essentially, their way of measuring might have been capturing people's attitudes toward the technology rather than their actual experience of social presence in the interaction.
That's what the article suggests, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have this groundbreaking idea about realness as the core of social presence, but the definition is a little fuzzy, and the measurement methods aren't quite hitting the mark.
Okay, so what did the authors of this review article propose? Did they try to come up with a better definition?
They did. They looked at Short and colleagues' original work, and then they considered all the research that has been done since then. And based on all of that, they came up with a revised definition.
Okay, let's hear it. What's their updated take on social presence?
So their definition is the psychological phenomenon in which, to a certain extent, the other persons are perceived as physical, real persons in technology-mediated communication.
Okay, so they're really emphasizing the perception of realness.
Exactly. It's not about whether the person is physically present.
Because obviously in online interactions, they're not.
Right. It's about the psychological experience of feeling like they're there, like they're a real person you're connecting with. They even connect this to the idea of an illusion of being together, even when you're physically separated and communicating through technology.
It's like when you're having a really engaging conversation on a video call, and you kind of forget that you're looking at a screen.
Yeah, exactly. You're just focused on the interaction, on the person you're talking to.
I like that illusion of being together. Now, we talked earlier about how Short et al.'s original theory really emphasized the technology as the main driver of social presence.
Right. Their perspective was very much rooted in what's called technological determinism. They believed that the features of the technology itself largely determined the level of social presence.
So a medium that can transmit more of those social cues, like video versus text, would inherently have higher social presence.
That was their thinking. But later research started to challenge that idea.
Oh, how so?
Well, researchers like Gunwardena and Walther argued that social factors play a much bigger role than Short and his colleagues originally thought.
Okay, interesting. So what kind of social factors are we talking about here?
So think about things like the specific context of the interaction.
Okay, so the purpose, the setting, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Or the individual characteristics of the people involved.
Like, are they introverted or extroverted? Do they have existing relationships? That kind of thing.
Exactly. They argued that all of these social factors, along with the technology, work together to shape our sense of social presence. It's not just about the medium itself. It's about who you're interacting with, why you're interacting, and the dynamics of that relationship.
So it's becoming a much more complex picture than just saying video equals more social presence.
Much more complex.
Yeah.
And of course, technology has evolved so much since 1976, which adds another layer of complexity.
Oh, I know. We've gone way beyond simple text and video calls.
Oh, absolutely. We have emojis, animated avatars, short-form video, and even virtual reality starting to emerge. All these new ways to express ourselves and connect with others.
And the article highlights how these new technologies can definitely influence social presence, right? Like using emojis can add an emotional layer to text-based communication.
Exactly. Or think about how a short video clip can convey more of those nonverbal cues than a static image. And then you have virtual reality, which can create a much more immersive experience. So it's clear that technology plays a role.
But it's not the whole story.
No, not at all. The social and psychological dynamics are still crucial. So the current thinking is that social presence is probably co-determined.
Co-determined by what?
By both the technology's attributes, what it enables, and how it shapes the interaction. And those individual and social factors we were talking about. It's this interplay of the technological and the social that creates that feeling of realness.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I want to make sure we touch on two other concepts the article brings up.
Yeah, what are those?
Sociability and social space. These are closely related to social presence, but they're distinct.
Okay, good to know. It seems like there are so many related concepts in this field.
There are, and it's easy to get them mixed up, but it's important to understand the nuances. So let's start with sociability.
Okay, let's unpack that one.
What is sociability, and how is it different from social presence?
So the article defines sociability as the capacity of CMC tools and electronic platforms to allow for the expression of social presence, the experience of it, as well as for the emergence of a social space.
That's a mouthful.
I know, right? But if you break it down, the key point is that sociability is an attribute of the medium itself. It's about what the technology makes possible in terms of social interaction.
So, like a platform that has lots of features for connecting and communicating with others would have high sociability.
Exactly. They use this term social affordances to describe these features. It's kind of like imagine a physical office space. A break room with a coffee machine is a feature that affords informal social interactions, even though it's not directly work-related.
Right. It creates the opportunity for people to connect.
Yeah. And online, those social affordances could be things like the ability to create profiles,
Okay.
share updates, react to messages with emojis, participate in group chats. So the platform itself can be designed to be more or less sociable, depending on what features it offers.
So it's about the potential for social interaction that the technology provides. Got it. Now, what about social space?
So social space is a little different. It's defined as the network of interpersonal relationships embedded in group structures of norms and values, rules and roles, and beliefs and ideals. Basically, it's the social fabric of the group.
So it's not about the technology itself, it's about the relationships and the overall atmosphere within the group.
Exactly. Think about things like a strong sense of community, a positive group climate where people feel comfortable and respected, mutual trust among the members, a shared social identity where people feel like they belong to something larger than themselves, and overall group cohesion, how well the group works together as a unit.
And the article argues that these are all essential for effective social interaction and collaborative learning, right?
Absolutely, you need that foundation of trust and community for people to really open up, share their ideas, and learn from each other. The article even cites Johnson & Johnson again here, emphasizing how important good interpersonal relationships and trust are for successful collaboration. And it also mentions that the concept of sense of community, which you hear a lot about in online communities, seems to overlap significantly with many aspects of social space.
So to summarize, we have sociability, which is about the technology's capacity for social interaction, social space, which is about the quality of the relationships and the overall group dynamic, and then we have social presence, which is that specific feeling of realness in online interactions.
That's a great summary. And it's really important to keep these distinctions in mind because, as the article points out, a lot of the confusion in this field comes from what they call the jingle fallacy.
The jingle fallacy. That sounds interesting. Tell me more.
So the jingle fallacy is essentially the mistake of assuming that different concepts are the same just because they have the same label.
So, like in this case, people might use the term social presence to refer to all sorts of different things.
Exactly. They might be talking about the platform's features, like how many ways there are to connect with others, which is really sociability. Or they might be talking about how connected people feel to the group, which is social space. Or they might actually be talking about that subjective experience of feeling like other people are really there, which is the core of social presence. But they're using the same term for all of them.
Ah, so it's like calling a house cat and a lion both just cat.
Yes, perfect analogy. And then you try to draw conclusions about cats in general, but you end up with a lot of misleading information because you're lumping together two very different things.
Right. A house cat and a lion might both be felines, but they have very different behaviors and characteristics. So to bring this back to our listeners, why does all this matter? Why should we care about these distinctions between sociability, social space, and social presence?
Because understanding these different layers can help us make sense of our own experiences online.
Okay.
It can help us understand why some online groups feel more vibrant and engaging than others.
How so?
So let's say you're part of an online community that has all the bells and whistles, tons of features for connecting, sharing, and interacting high sociability, but maybe you still don't feel a strong sense of connection to the other people there.
Maybe you don't feel that realness of social presence, or maybe the group just doesn't feel very cohesive.
Exactly. And if you're trying to learn in that environment, you might find it really challenging, even if the platform itself has all the tools you need.
Because you're missing that human element, that feeling of connection and trust that really facilitates learning.
Precisely. And recognizing these different facets can help you figure out where the issue might lie. Is it the technology itself that's limiting the interaction? Or is it the social dynamics within the group that need some attention?
It's like a diagnostic tool for understanding your online experiences.
Yeah, I like that. And by becoming more aware of these different layers, you can be more intentional about how you interact online and what aspects of the environment you might want to focus on to create those richer, more engaging experiences.
That's really powerful. So, just to recap everything we've discussed,
Yeah.
social presence at its core is about the perceived realness of others in online interactions,
Right.
but it's closely intertwined with sociability, which is the platform's capacity for social interaction, and social space, which is the quality of the relationships and the overall group dynamic. And we need to be careful not to fall into the trap of the jingle fallacy, where we treat these three distinct concepts as if they were all the same thing.
Absolutely. Keeping those distinctions clear is crucial for understanding how social presence really works and how we can leverage it to create more meaningful and effective online interactions.
Okay, so here's a final thought for everyone listening. Think about an online group that you're a part of right now. It could be for school, for work, or just for fun.
Okay.
Now consider which aspect the platform's features, its sociability, the individual interactions that make you feel like others are really there, social presence, or the overall sense of community and trust within the group, social space, contributes most to your sense of presence and connection in that group.
That's a great question. Once you've identified that, think about how understanding those different facets might help you engage more effectively in that group in the future.
It's definitely something to reflect on as we all spend more and more time interacting in these digital spaces.
Absolutely, because ultimately, whether we're learning, working, or just socializing online, that sense of connection, that feeling of presence can make all the
They
difference.
really can.